Hi, I'm Dr. Lili, and this is my Pocket Pediatrician. Did you know that more than 2 children drown every day in the United States? Do you know the most effective ways to prevent drowning in swimming pools? Let's discuss the best way to keep your kids safe this summer.
When the doctor says my child has a condition, I'll learn more at my Pocket Pediatrician.
I'm going to talk to you about drowning in swimming pool safety today. Drowning is a leading cause of death in young children, particularly children ages 1 to 4. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends touch supervision for all children under age 5. For older children, they should still have a parent observing them who knows how to swim and is free from distractions like phones, chores, socializing, friends, alcohol, any of those things. They don't say anything about trying to keep all your other children alive, but for me, that's my biggest distraction right now. I was having a conversation with some of my friends the other day, and they were telling me how they never knew their parents didn't know how to swim until recently. So that means when they were swimming as a kid, they were being supervised by somebody who didn't know how to swim. If your child's in the water, the supervising adult must be able to rescue them if they get into trouble. This is something to consider if you have a grandparent or a babysitter or somebody who's going to be taking your child in the water. They need to know how to swim. So when it comes to swimming pools, whether they're in your house or in your community, fences are the #1 way to protect children. It's your first line of defense. All pools should be fenced in with a fence that's at least 4 feet tall, is climb resistant, doesn't have any handholds or footholds on it so that kids can climb. If there's slats, they should be 4 inches or less apart. You should never use a chain link fence for a pool because they're easy to climb. A gate should be self-latching. It should be at least 54 inches tall so a kid can't reach it and open the gate themselves. You shouldn't have any furniture near a fence or that's lightweight for a child to drag near a fence, because a lot of times children have been able to drag a lounge chair or something like that, climb up and get into a pool. If there's a pool on your property, you should have door alarms, window guards. You should have doors to the house that are self-closing and self-latching. Many pool-related deaths occur when a child gets out of the house and the parent was unaware that they even slipped out and got into the pool without the parent knowing. Sadly, the child is later found having drowned in the pool, and kids have even climbed out of windows, doggy doors, or just walked out a regular front door and nobody noticed. If you have a pool or there's a pool in your community, you want to make sure that there are no toys or anything that would attract the child to try to get over to the pool, near it, or in it. You should never have tricycles, ride-on toys, anything like that near your pool, because children could ride on it and go shooting right into the water. My neighbor got a blow-up pool for Memorial Day weekend, and she was really excited about it because it had a self-inflating blower. As much of a pain as it is, any inflatable pool or temporary pool should be deflated or emptied after every use because it doesn't have the safeguards in place. And even though it took all day, the next day or that night, her son could slip out of the house and fall into that inflatable pool. That's just another hazard to consider. If you have an above-ground pool, you want to remove the steps and ladders, and they should be kept separately and locked away so that kids can't get in there that way either. Now, when you have these safeguards, they're only as safe as the people using them. So in my community pool, we have a very tall fence, which is great. But during my 30-minute swim practice yesterday, I witnessed a lot of people in the community opening and shutting our emergency-only exits. Door alarms only work if they have battery. This is just a good chance to think about what safeguards you have in place around the pools in your house or in your community, and consider if they're actually going to work appropriately for you and your child. You might be thinking right now, well, I don't need to listen to this. My child already knows how to swim. We put my kid in swimming lessons. I don't have anything to worry about. You might have spent several $100s on some infant swim lessons or even some toddler swim classes, which is great that you're thinking about water safety. But the American Academy of Pediatrics doesn't feel that infant swim lessons for children under a year are effective at all in preventing drowning. There's no evidence that teaching a baby to swim is going to save them from drowning when they're under a year of age. Any baby or toddler still requires constant touch supervision. The AAP does strongly support swim lessons for all children ages 4 and older, but for children between ages 1 and 4, it's going to depend on the child and the situation. You have to consider factors like how much time your child will be spending in the water or near water, what their emotional maturity level is, and what their physical limitations. If you're trying to decide between different companies offering swim lessons and the different type of lessons that are available, the AAP does not recommend a specific curriculum, but the class you pick for your child should adhere to the guidelines established by the National YMCA. Young children should never be forcibly submerged in the water, and their parents should always be actively involved in the classes. No swim lesson is going to drown-proof your child. So even if your child seems like they're going to be the next Michael Phelps, you still need to be able to reach them when they're in the water. For older children, also talk to them about diving safety. Diving into shallow water can cause spinal cord injuries, traumatic brain injuries, and even death. At any age, it's very important to teach your children the dangers that can happen in any body of water, and also teach them to follow the rules, like no running at the pool, never enter the water without permission. Teach them not to push each other underwater, not to dunk each other, as that can be really dangerous for them. If your child is going to use a flotation device, it should be something not inflatable that can attach to your child securely with clips or zippers or both. Never let them use any inflatable toys or rafts as a flotation device. These can pop or become slippery. Your child can slip off or slip through them, and if they don't know how to swim without it, they can drown easily. Also, if you have a pool, a lot of times people think that a cover is going to be a good protection for them, so they'll put a cover over the pool. These can actually be pretty dangerous for children. If the cover is not completely removed, a child can swim underneath the cover. There have been several cases where children have swum underneath, and even good swimmers have drowned because they got trapped underneath the cover. Never let a child walk on a cover because they can break and slip through. A cover is never going to be a good replacement for a complete four-sided fence around your pool. Also, hot tubs can be dangerous for children. We find this in hotels, particularly when there's a pool and our kids want to get into a hot tub. Little children can overheat pretty quickly, and they can just very easily slip under and drown. And a lot of times people think because a hot tub is usually shallow, it's okay for kids, but it's really not. Kids under 12 should never be in a hot tub. Never leave your child alone near any body of water, whether it's a bathtub, a hot tub, a pool, a lake, anything like that, the ocean, obviously. Drowning can occur in seconds, and if it's a non-fatal drowning, the effects can still last a lifetime. Parents should learn CPR. They should also always have a phone near the pool. One other thing, when children are drowning, they're not usually splashing around and screaming for help the way you see in the movies or on TV. Drowning in children is often actually silent. Things to watch out for as red flags would be if you see their face is low in the water, their hair might be over their face or their eyes. Sometimes their legs are just kind of dangling below them and they're not really kicking, but they might be floating. Sometimes they just sink to the bottom quietly and nobody notices it. On crowded days, a lifeguard or even a parent may not be able to tell that a child is drowning. So the last thing I want to talk about is this. If a lifeguard tells you to do something, just do it. If you have a problem with it, call the management company, write a letter, go on social media and complain about it to everybody. But don't let your problem take the lifeguard's eyes off the child that they might need to be saving in that moment. And when the time comes that they need to save somebody, they need to have a clear mind, they need to have focus, and they need to be able to do what they need to do to save a child in danger. Unfortunately, I've been on the receiving end of some of the children who were missed. I've seen some good outcomes and I've seen some horribly tragic outcomes. Please don't let your pride contribute to the death of a child and the devastation of a family. Don't let the inconvenience of walking through the changing rooms leave a gate ajar and allow a small child access to a huge body of water. The phone calls can wait while your child is in the water. You can have that drink that you probably really need after you put your kids to bed. I'm a mom of 4. I've run large pediatric emergency departments by myself. I'd say I'm pretty good at multitasking. But when my kids are in the water, my eyes are on the water. So in summary, the most important way to protect your child at the pool is to make sure there's a good fence in place and that there's a parent who's supervising the child closely at all times. Swim lessons are great. Flotation devices can help, but you should never rely on either of those. Truly, nothing can replace a parent's watchful eyes while they're watching their children in the water. Please subscribe, comment below, let me know what you think. This is Dr. Lili with My Pocket Pediatrician. Thanks for stopping by.
When the doctor says my child has a condition, I'll learn more at My Pocket Pediatrician.